I'm
Go
Kirsten.
ahead.
I'm going ahead.
All right.
I'm going ahead. And if you can tell me your name or as much of your name as you want to tell me.
My name is Salvador Chavez, and I am a part of Occupy LA.
And what made you be involved in this case with the Lucero family?
I just I see all since 2008 when the economy crashed, the housing bubble, the crisis. It was all fraudulent actions. These bankers found loopholes and ways to invest people's money, and that's what they've been doing for years and years. And I've just I always hated that Wall Street and Occupy Wall Street happened, and Occupy LA hopped off of that. And I was always against the whole financial institutions controlling the money in our system, in our government, which I disagree with our government in the United States. But I found out about Fort Hernandez, and then I was there since the day after the barbecue, day one. And then I heard about this because over there was a lot of very stressful, and they needed support here, and I came here on day 5 to Fort Lucero. And I've been here since for 30 days now, or 35 days.
So, what was it like on day 5? Was it much different from now?
Way different. It was really it was interesting because it was still we were newcomers. Everybody here was still we didn't know the social dynamics were still fresh. We didn't know how we were gonna be acting, communicating with each other. So over time, it just organically people got used to each other and how we communicated. It's developed pretty well. It's really peaceful here. There's a lot of cool things happening.
And so you came in and you set up the tents, or how did that work? Because I assume the family didn't have all that.
Yeah, they had a lot of their stuff here, and their street vendors they sell, so and they had all this stuff all over the place, and we helped them out. They were really open to us camping here because the deal with the sheriffs coming in at any time. We're here as to put ourselves on the line in front of them for the sheriffs to arrest us, and not them. So we helped move all this stuff around, set up, organize the space.
And you also then did.
Yeah, we built
front?
a wall, the barricade. We built it with their consent. They agreed to it. So yeah, we just set it up in a few days. The same. In one day we just put it up, and over time we've just been adding to it to reinforce. Slowly, just growing.
And so, why is it important to build up the wall in the front?
Oh, it's important to. It's more of a symbolic thing because the sheriffs could really just come in with a bulldozer or a chain tied to a truck and hold it down. It's more to show resistance, to show that we're not gonna go, we're not gonna let them come in, just walk in here. And we've had situations where the sheriffs stepped into the house and we all just rush at them and tell them, no, you can't come in, and they just stand there like idiots, like robots. They don't know. They don't have critical thinking. They have to wait for orders. They have to wait for their boss to tell them, okay, we have to get out of here. We're violating their rights. It's trespassing. They were trespassing, and that's why we have that for the sheriffs to see that they can't just come in here. We're defending ourselves. We're gonna stand up against the banks because they are doing this illegal foreclosure. It's not right. That's the whole message. It's more symbolic than actual functioning as an actual wall that's gonna prevent anybody, because you could just open the gate and walk in.
Yeah, I just did. Yeah. So, so what happened at that time when they came? What time was it?
It was it's happened a few times. They came in one day, they were just harassing us. Well,
so they come here with their whole
no,
a lot of cars.
They were just passing by, and then they seen one time we were painting the barricade, we were decorating it, and I actually it was my fault because I put my foot on the neighbor's fence. It was the cinder blocks that built up the fence. I put my foot up there to reach to the top, and the sheriff was passing by, and he stops and he hits his siren, and he's like, you. And he's trying to accuse me of trespassing, and then he goes over to the neighbor and tells him he's going on your property. He's trying to find an excuse to do something to me, or target me. He tries to convince the neighbors that I'm over there getting into the property, and he doesn't know that I'm a risk or whatever. And the neighbors are like, what are you talking about? I know what they're doing. The neighbors they're cool with us. They see what this is about. They're supportive of it, and they didn't really say anything. They just went back into the house, and the sheriff just tried to talk to all of us. And I went inside, and everybody was like, just stay inside, don't go out there, because you know he was already going after me. And like we just stood there. We took an oath of silence to not say anything to the sheriffs, and then
You said we took an oath of silence?
oath of silence.
Oath of silence. So
to not speak. Nobody spoke. And then he just like he called his backup, and he started taking pictures of us. And then what happened that day was the guy that did all the fraud to the family. His name is Luis Garza. He's part of Carrington Mortgage. He actually came that day. He called the sheriffs, but he tried to say that the sheriffs tried to say that the sheriffs tried to say that the neighbors called the sheriffs because I was on the property, which is all this like, it just happened in the moment, and he found an excuse to use to like mess with us. And then that guy came.
But it was really the sheriff passed by because the Carrington.
Yeah, Carrington guy. He told them that he was gonna foreclose on the house in the front. The date was up on the 15th, but it's one loan. What I don't get is that it's one property and it's one loan, but they're closing the two houses down. They're evicting the two houses on two separate dates, which is it's so crooked. They're doing something really wrong right there.
So two houses are involved?
Yeah. It's one property. The loan was for the property, which has two houses in it.
Oh, so these two houses.
Yeah.
These two.
These
okay.
Two. But the bank, how they're executing the eviction is they're doing an eviction for each house separately. They're using two different addresses, but the main address for the property is 4850, I believe, which is the front one. Right, Frankie? 4748 is the property address? Okay, 4748 is the property address. But they're evicting both houses separately, and that right there just shows you that they're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
But
and just confusing and making,
they're just throwing all this paperwork in to make it more bureaucratic and harder to do anything.
And so then they did come also to evict the people while you were here?
Well, there was that day they came in, but we didn't let them in because that same night Telemundo TV station came and like interviewed the mother at home, and she straight up said what the guy from Carrington Mortgage had told the family, told them that he did the foreclosure process, the whole thing. And then he told them, I'm going to give you the keys back so you can get in and get your stuff out. And he never got the keys back. And he told them, if I give you these keys, I could lose my job. And what Mama Lucero said to the Telemundo station, the interview, said he told us personally that he could lose his job if he gave us these keys. And now I want him fired. And so they relocated him or something. He just disappeared. He got off the case. He got him fired because he did something. He wasn't supposed to do that. And then the family's still in the house because he did that. So it's not. So the foreclosure process went through, and it's still like he violated the own foreclosure, so it's not valid anymore. Because he gave him the keys. What's the point of doing that, right?
And I have a feeling I do not understand the whole thing because I also read that there's a court order that lets them live in here until November 30th.
Yeah.
At least.
There was a court order for that, but there was a whole. I don't know. The bank did something about like invalidating that, and because the bank kept putting pressure on the court saying that they hadn't done necessary steps to get a modification or something. I'm not too clear on it.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people dealing with it. I'm not really involved with the paperwork because it's more legal and like I don't know too much. I'm not too educated in that stuff.
But you're getting probably more
Yeah,
and more educated about
it's really a learning process here. You learn more and more, but some people they're really knowledgeable of that, and I'm not like. I'm more into like the hands-on, like on the floor.
So what does your day look like now here? What do you mostly do?
We just like clean around in the mornings, wake up, we have a general assembly, we talk about what's going to happen in the day, and some of us are assigned to go speak to people or like organize, communicate with different organizations or people to spread like messages, and talk to the neighbors and stuff. Like we're going to go put up a banner on the Maravilla Historical Society, the handball courts, for like representing us. That's one of the things we're doing today. We're doing a lot of things online, like creating designs, like flyers and stuff. Just getting the word out. It's like outreach, and it's just really waiting on what the hell the bank's gonna say. We're like really like anxious, like.
So you haven't heard from them since when?
Since the direct action that happened on Tuesday. They haven't spoken to us. They're like, I think they're scared that we're putting all this attention on them. Like they're coming into the U.S. and like taking all this money out and like pocketing it to themselves and going back home.
And is this house? Are you keeping contact also with other cases like this?
Yeah,
movement?
it's it's Occupy Fights Foreclosures. It's an organization that branched out from Occupy LA, focusing on the foreclosure crisis. And this home is started because she went to them and asked them for help, and we came here, and so through them we communicate with what's going on in different areas. Like in Pasadena last week or 2 weeks ago, we went to this lady, is Dee Duncan. She's a foster mom of 5 children, and her landlord is kicking her out. It's on some other thing, but he's a slumlord. Like the house is in bad condition, and he's just kicked her out for I don't know exactly why, but we went over there because we found out to show support when the cops showed up with the landlord, and then 2 of the people supporting her got kicked in the stomach. The landlord kicked them, and they pressed the charges right in front of them, and the police didn't do anything because he has like some kind of power, because he's a landlord, he has the money, he has a higher status than the renter. So the cops didn't do anything about him hitting a woman who was there, which is really awful. He should have been arrested on the scene.
Yeah, it's interesting how that works.
Right.
How they
The power.
Yeah, and how
structure.
they protect who they protect and all that. So now what would you do? I mean, I'm sure your life has been different before you did this.
Yeah,
so what would you have done? What did you do?
Before, I used to work like a shitty, like minimum wage job to pay rent and live in Hollywood, because I was going to school at LA City College, and I was studying photojournalism is what I was actually studying. And then Occupy LA happened, and I was like, fuck this, I'm tired of like going to school and like not getting shit done. Like I feel like it's more grassroots. I get to meet a lot of people and like work with people with the same ideas as me, because a lot of people in school are just like lost, in a cloud. Like, so I gave up my apartment. I didn't pay November of 2011's rent. I just said fuck this, because I went on October 1st to Occupy LA. I was like, the first day I was like, hell yeah, I was out there, and I stayed at the camp. I set up my camp and I just stayed there in bike scum in Occupy LA.
and now you don't have any apartment for your...
No. Well, right now I'm like working on getting more stable, because I've been living in a tent for the last year since Occupy LA, since the raid happened.
At different places? Or?
Yeah, I was actually in a collective group. We were all camping out, moving with our bikes. We were camping out in different parks, and then we squatted, found houses, and then eventually like abandoned houses that are like foreclosed by the banks. People aren't living in them, so we broke into them and just stayed in there. I'm kind of criminalizing myself, huh?
I have no idea about the legal...
Yeah, it's like nobody found this. Like we just left these places and then got into a non-profit that like gave us housing to stay in the park. It's Tierra de la Culebra in Highland Park. It was an organization where we traded work for a living, and like we got all our resources by ourselves, but we just lived there, provided like a community space. And then I've been doing that for a year now.
And you're ready to be more stable
again?
Yeah,
I feel like it's been very unstable because of that. Like I don't have a place to go. Like I'm always on the move, like finding a new place to crash. So like I need to get back into getting a job or a source of income, which is kind of sad, because this system in the United States is really going to shit, and minimum wage is not survivable. It's like you have to get at least a $13 an hour job to like be okay. Even though like I don't want it, I'm gonna have to get it for me and my girlfriend to like live comfortably and like be able to do this stuff still.
Yeah, which is probably hard to combine it. And so, are you using your photojournalism skills for the movement also?
No, not really, because I just see there's so many people doing it, like for photographers and journalists. I'm just like, what the hell? Like, you guys can take care of it. Like, but I have really like been talking to myself about it a lot. I really want to get into it, but it's just it's like you have to dedicate yourself to that if you really want to do it. And I just feel like I'm just doing all like different things. Like maybe I should be doing it. I don't know.
It can be interesting, I'm sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of things.
And the way you view things and the pictures you would take.
Yeah,
would be
certain
different
angle, right?
from what other people do.
Yeah,
Like
definitely.
I'm doing, even if Hannah comes now next, and Hannah has been my intern a few years ago,
Really?
and when she comes, I just know her stories are just different, even though we're showing sometimes up at the same places. And she does them for different radio stations that I do, and it's just gonna be a slight. And I'm sure with your pictures, you would have your
My own touch to it, right?
your stamp on it. That is then.
Yeah, I don't
yours.
know. I should be doing it. I don't know. I've asked myself a lot because sometimes I see things. I'm like, I wish I had a camera or even a live stream just to like film like a specific situation that's happening.
Yeah,
Like
so
be,
maybe you pick it up again.
yeah, I want to. I have. Well, I do black and white photography. I have like. I just need a space to set up a studio. I've been wanting to create
And if you can
workshops.
share
Do
something with
workshops
somebody,
for people and like teach people how to shoot
yeah,
photography.
so that could be.
This
And-
got into my own thing. I'm sorry. This was like you're supposed to be asking me questions about.
Yeah,
this.
that is
I'm
very
sorry.
true. So
Sorry
no,
about
and I was thinking, my man, I have to get. So what is your at the moment the request to the? Are you more with Carrington or with the Deutsche Bank? What are your requests at the moment?
Well, what I want to see is like the accountability for the money that's disappeared. These guys, Hector Frias, Luis Negrete, that from Carrington Mortgage that went to the Lucero family and like defrauded them for all this money. Like they convinced them to sign all this bankruptcy paperwork and all this stuff, and like just ran off with their money. Never got them a bankruptcy or filed for their bankruptcy or got them the loan modifications that they promised when she signed these contracts or this paperwork or whatever. And I just want to see Carrington Mortgage go after these guys, even though they might have fired them or whatever. And I want to see them negotiate with Deutsche Bank to see who's at fault and who's gonna pay, you know, the lawsuit if it happens to either one of them. Like, who's gonna take the accountability? Which I think Deutsche Bank is because they are the trustee, right, of the deed to the house. So if they're claiming to own the property, then they should pay up what they're doing wrong. They should like realize that it's the family had been making the payments for 15 years until this mercenary bankruptcy attorney came and said, "Oh, I'll get you the modification." Then he lied to her, and so she didn't pay the bank or the mortgage because she relied on him, who really ran away with the money. So it's not her fault. It's this mercenary who came in out of nowhere and said, "Oh, I'll save you," and just runs off with the money. You have to go after the
So
people,
that happened.
the
That
people
they
who
had
employed
somebody, whatever.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
said,
'cause you
"I'm
know
gonna help you."
Yeah, there's people like all over you. Like you drive down the street, you see like posters of people. "Oh, you having trouble with your mortgage? Oh, you need bankruptcy? Blah blah blah." And like there's this number people call, and like they believe, and like it just sounds so legitimate because they know what they're talking about. And these people are like just making their payments. All they understand is I gotta pay, and they tell me to pay, I'll pay. And they work hard. Sometimes they can't even have food for their children.
And this guy told them, "Okay, I promise you to modify the loan."
He
But
gave him his business card, which.
and in reality, they were signing the bankruptcy, or what?
Well, supposedly, one instance was for bankruptcy, filing for bankruptcy, so they could get an extension to stay, so they can get more time to negotiate with the bank or like find out. Or I guess she had to do that, so it would give us more time to occupy fights foreclosures, more time to like figure out what's going on, so they just don't get evicted. So that she did that, and the guy ran off with the money.
God.
Excuse me.
That is so.
Excuse me. I just burping.
Okay, so and
then the loan modification happened. Like they did the same thing, and this guy said, "Oh, I'm gonna give you the modification," and ran off with $5,000 twice. She called the company, the Carrington Mortgage, and said, "Oh, you have to do. We're gonna give you the modification, but for 6 months you pay us $15.99, and then after those 6 months we'll give you the modification." She did that twice, and they ran off with the money twice.
they were related to Carrington.
Yeah, they're like a subcontract, or they're like, I don't know, representatives of Carrington or something.
So they have the papers that she signed had some Carrington
Mortgage,
stuff
yeah.
on there.
I believe so.
Yeah,
I don't want to
probably.
say that,
Okay.
yeah, but
All right.
I think that's what I understand.
Okay. And so now you're here until when?
Until the sheriffs come and take the house away and arrest or whatever, and they put the foreclosure out. We're staying until then, or until the family gets the house back, which is what we hope is gonna happen. They get to keep the house.
Because they're willing to pay. They don't want.
Yeah, they're willing to pay to get a modification on the payments to lower the payment and lower the interest rate so they can afford it monthly. They're not asking for the house for free. That's the thing about the bank not understanding, that they think we're asking it, that we're some like crazy people that want everything for free. That's how the whole image of people who are like fighting against the corruption. It's saying, oh, you just want everything for free. We're gonna sit around and like just wait for them to give us handouts. But no, that's not what we want. We're actually fighting for what we think is right. Justice. It's a type of reform thing to change, but it's not the best. But it's like what's possible right now, because we can't really say like, oh, the banks don't exist, because they do, and they're still gonna do what they want to do. So we have to work within that system that they exist in.
Yeah, and I don't understand why they wouldn't want to have people who pay.
Yeah,
their mortgage. I mean, they should be happy to have somebody in there who says, "I want to pay," instead of. Then what? They have it empty or
yeah,
what?
This is just gonna sit around because they're not gonna think it's okay to like let somebody rent it in the condition it's in. Like the place has been like, they've been here for 15 years, and they've been like doing whatever they can to the house because they had to pay their mortgage. They have very little money for anything else to upgrade or like improve. So it's kind of the house is running down a little bit. So it's still.
Yeah, so for them, it seems would be like a better deal to.
Yeah, to just let them get the modification and let them keep paying the house so they can keep it. Like it's not a hard thing. I don't know why they get so like. It's just the whole point of like them making more money off of somebody else.
Yeah,
just keep
I do not. And I talked to one of the bankers at Deutsche Bank, and he was throwing words at me, and I thought, oh God, poor people, Spanish speaking. How are they ever going to make? I'm not. I can't. I had to tell him 4 times. Sorry, sir, I don't understand one word what you're saying.
Yeah,
I don't understand the difference between. It starts with trustee and servicers.
Yeah.
And so you're the trustee and the investor, so you have some know, but we don't because we're just okay. You have to say it again because I did not understand it. And he sent me 12 pages of a document with a lot of footnotes, explaining to me the difference between trustee and servicers. And it started with, after 3 pages of some introduction, it said it says it in words that are hard to understand, but it started with railroad bonds in 1839.
Railroad bonds?
Between the trustee and the servicers were first established with and so.
Wow.
The whole history. So I knew, God, you're anywhere somewhere it's hidden what you don't want me to know.
Oh, man.
But you tell me the whole story of the railroad bonds from I don't know when. So I could only imagine. Okay, if you have to deal with these kind of words and these kind of papers, and you don't speak the language.
That was one of the problems too. That the family told us that like since they're Spanish speakers only, like all these documents that the information they were being given was all in Spanish. Like so they understood everything. So they got this idea of what they were getting into, right? And then the documents that they were made to sign, they were in English. So they were expected. They assumed that it was related to all the stuff that was explained in the paper, but in reality, it had some stuff changed around to make it work against them. I don't know exactly like how it works, but they use that language barrier as an advantage. The language barrier is discriminating.
Yeah, I mean that should not even be legal that they can do that. So, is it awkward to live with a family on the property, or is it?
Sometimes when it's like their personal space, it's like I feel like I'm intruding, but it's like they're really loving and they care about us a lot. Mama Lucero, she always worries about us eating. She always asks me, "Have you eaten yet? There's some food on the counter. Go get some food. Come on. I don't want you guys starving on me. Like you guys are living in the house. I want you to feel comfortable. I want you to be here. Like do what you gotta do. Like
So you're sharing the kitchen and the bathrooms and all that stuff?
Yeah, we all clean the bathrooms, the kitchen. We cook our food. We try to find ways to get resources for food. So we try to accumulate the food that we can for the people living here. And
how many is there at one given or at the moment? Do you know?
Like the core is I say like 15, 20, then it ranges to like 30. Sometimes I think like 30, 35 is like the biggest we've had here.
Oh, it's
so
good
far,
that they have a rather large property.
Yeah, it's pretty nice to set up the tents down the driveway.
So So
in
you
the
at
back
night you set up the tents.
No, well, these are the ones here, but on the weekends, more people show up, and they set up all down that way.
Yeah, and now at the moment the sheriffs could come.
Yeah, the 2 week stay ended on the 14th, November 14th, and then the eviction. They gave us an eviction notice like at the beginning of the month, so or at the end of last month, I think, end of September, and then we got the two-week stay, which went over the 5-day notice, and then the 2-week stay ended, and they didn't want to give us another stay. The judge just ruled that it was too many extensions that they asked for too many stays, so they didn't give another one. So now the sheriffs already gave us that 5-day notice, so they can come whenever they feel like, whenever the bank wants to pressure and say go in and evict this group, they can just show up anytime. So we're kind of like, it's like this eerie feeling like you never know. At night, sometimes it's like shit. I could be sitting here and they rush in.
And so you have been arrested when you were doing the civil disobedience.
And
Was it the first time you got arrested?
No,
or
this is my 4th time.
And are you ever
this year.
anxious about it, or do you?
Nah, it was fun because we were just running up and down the street talking all this shit about Deutsche Bank, like how they're doing all this stuff, and all the other banks, banksters in general. There's like it's the gangsters at the Joe the banksters at the mobsters at the top or something. It was a chant they were singing about the banksters, not the people at the bottom.
And so what happens when then the police comes and?
Well, as soon as we got there, like we all rushed out of the bus. We had 2 buses. We all rushed out. We set up banners and we started chalking on the ground. We blocked off both streets, like both directions on Avenue of the Stars. And like we stopped the traffic, and then the police shows up and they got like 10 guys in riot gear. Like they got their helmets and pads and like batons and like all these canisters. Like tear gas, and there was like about 50, 60 people there. We were like just chanting, and like we got a lot of people out to the street like to see what's going on. You look into the buildings and people are like looking out the window like, what? You had crowds filled up out.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
And then they make the move on you, or?
Well, we sat down and then they gave us a 5-minute dispersal warning, but we're like, we're not leaving, and then more people started coming to sit down, and so like they said okay, and then they lined up all the officers. And they were giving orders, and then they're like, it was like about 10 minutes, they didn't do anything. They said 5 minutes, so we're like, what the hell? And then we like just talked between the people who were gonna get arrested, which was 6 of us. We're like, okay, are we gonna stay here, or what are we gonna do? And we're like, let's run down to the intersection. So we went to the intersection, and the police was like, what the fuck? Their look was just like, oh shit, they got lost, like dumbfounded, because they didn't know what to do. Like they expected us to stay there, so they had to spread, and like they got thin. And they called for backup, and they surrounded us at the intersection, and they gave us another 5-minute warning. And then after that, we ran down all the way down to Santa Monica Boulevard. Route 66 is what it actually is. It's that old road that takes you out to the east. It takes you through the desert. We shut that down for about half hour to an hour, and then they didn't give us.
People loved it.
Yeah, people were mad too that we were stopping traffic because it's one of the main streets through the west side. But like. The problem was that they didn't give us a dispersal order for that intersection, so that's where they messed up. Then they give us that. They came to that intersection, they lined up, and they asked us one by one, if you do not move yourself, you are going to be arrested. And we all said, are you gonna move? And everybody said no, so they picked us up one by one. None of us resisted or anything. We just like they grabbed us and like put our arms behind our back. They were aggressive. They were like squeezing our arms and like shoving, being forceful without us being resisting or anything. That's just how they are, they're giant robots, brainwashed to be like aggressive, forceful, to put fear in people's minds. But they just picked us up. They took us to jail. They took us there, and they were like wondering who the hell we were, why we were there. Like, and we explained to them we're fighting here for this family. Like, it's we're not fighting against you guys because you're told to do what you do. You're not thinking for yourself. But you have to understand that these banks are doing a lot of things to innocent families, making them lose their homes and their children, their families break up, people kill themselves because they lose their homes, they don't know what to do. And they just like, they were sympathetic, some of them like understood that. So they took us to like jail, to the 77th Street Precinct, which like released us because they deal with a lot of like violent crimes. And we were like a non-violent civil disobedience, so they're like, just booked us, and we sat there for a few hours and got processed, and they said the watch commander came and said, "Oh, you guys, the jail is too full right now. Like, I don't want to hold you guys." So they give us a court date for December 4th. Yeah.
And that was it. And then you could
That
go.
was it. They just let us go at like around midnight, like 1 in the morning. We all got out. Yeah. It was like,
So you had to look for how do we get home now?
yeah. Oh no, we had our support there. People
They
waiting
were
for
there.
us.
Okay.
Yeah. That was really cool.
And do you have a feeling you're there's reactions to it? You're getting to something? You're
Yeah. Well, like that day, there was a lot of media at the action on November 13th and 13. What it was called. There was a lot of people. Like, there were media. They were covering. Well, you were there, right?
Yeah, I was there. Yeah, and so
You're
do
at
you
the
have
concert?
the feeling that
It brought
does
awareness.
anything for that the bank doesn't move in or
I think it put a lot of pressure on the bank because on the newspapers I seen like it said Deutsche Bank, like it equals fraud. I was like, that was pretty awesome. I like that. And it's in a Spanish, the biggest La Opinión is just the biggest newspaper, Spanish newspaper in LA. They like that came out, and I think it brought a lot of attention to this like the foreclosure crisis because a lot of people are like suffering from it, and like they're like, holy shit, like there's people actually standing up for this. So we've seen a lot of people getting more involved because of like us bringing this more to air. So like I think that action actually brought more attention onto the mainstream, the Spanish mainstream media.
yeah.
So now the bank has actually like, I think that's why they haven't pushed to come and evict the family because we got attention, we got their attention.
Yeah, maybe they get more phone calls like from Hannah and me,
Yeah,
and
and
then it's
that's
a
what-
little okay, what's happening? Maybe. Who
Right
knows?
now we're blasting out their phone number for people all over the world right now to call them and like tell them to not evict the family. So that puts more pressure on them, and they realize that holy shit, like people actually are caring. They're gonna do something if we.
And do you think in the
Really?
bigger picture it will change anything?
I think it's possible. Like these guys are still stubborn. They just care about their money, But like, I really hope it'll change something. I hope like they will be more careful with their procedure, the way that they screw people over. Not do it as much. Like maybe see how much the family has struggled or something like that, or like what they're going through to be able to make these payments, or like why they're having trouble. Give more leniency to the homeowners because right now it's tough times. The economy is bad in this country, and that's why people can't afford their payments, and that's why a lot of people are standing up right now.
Yeah.
They're rising up because it's a lot of bullshit.
Yeah,
Like
but
cow
it
shit.
takes. I mean, the system is so well established. I mean, it will take
It'll take a long time.
some
For it to-
patience and some, I don't know, resistance and all that too.
Yeah.
I mean, this can only be, even if they get helped, be one very
It's just-
small step in.
Yeah, because there's so many other homes. What we want, like, what would be a nice thing would be a moratorium on all foreclosures, to end the foreclosures and actually try to work something out, even though if it's something that'll take a long time for people to own their houses completely.
Like to give a stay of, okay, we had 6 months, nothing happens, and we work on the.
Yeah, work on the paperwork, see modify something, give you like a better payment where you can afford it, even if it's like $1,000 a month. It's like you'll still pay it off in like 50 or 60 years, but still, you're paying for it. You're still working for it. You're not just asking for it for free. Some people can't afford $4,000, $5,000 a month. That's insane. They don't even make it like half of that.
Yeah, yeah, and
In a
then they
month.
pay for if they really bought the house for whatever 350, and they pay 900,000
Yeah,
or
and that,
something for.
well, right now the family spent over $400,000 on the property, and it's worth less than half of that for this property here.
And now they
With all the stuff,
could lose it. I mean, if
Yeah.
what happens.
with
then-
all the money that these lawyers have run off with, it's more than $400,000. Plus the 15 years of payments, like all of that added up is $405,000, I think. Yeah, and like
And they could be losing everything.
yeah,
Just be thrown out.
yeah, they're just gonna get thrown out, and then they can't do anything about it once the bank comes
And
in.
the bank owns the property. Then.
Yeah, they have the title to the property, so that's where it's like everybody's like, "Fuck, we gotta do something about it. We gotta get it back." Like it's like capture the flag, and then
Yeah.
go in there and take the specific title and then we're
Yeah.
back to base.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That was cool.
That was interesting.
Yeah.